Oh my god, guys, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Need for Speed Unbound is literally around the corner. We're gonna go right back to the beginning of what the hell just happened. The Insider. I have to say, I generally hate these stupid leak accounts, but this one apparently uses some different methods, and it's interesting. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. It translated to Unbound. You guys have been spamming this at me, and I just cannot avoid it. As soon as that happened and people were figuring out, didn't take long, Tom Henderson dropped this article that Need for Speed Unbound is coming out on December 2nd. That would mean the 1 month delay that he mentioned previously is correct, but it's still coming out in 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, we could still call it Need for Speed 2022. Which, of course, then he posted to his website with a little bit more information. Need for Speed Unbound reveal imminent. Despite constant behind-the-scenes delays for Need for Speed Unbound's reveal... Hey. Constant delay? Hey! What? Been like, what, 2 delays? It's not that bad. Sources have now said that the reveal is imminent. It's understood the long-awaited reveal will take place in the next 2 weeks. Within the next 2 weeks, we should supposedly be hearing about the next Need for Speed. We should see it for the first time. I mean, if you ignore the leaks and stuff that we saw, we'll see it how it's supposed to be seen. Rumors have suggested that the reveal will take place in early October, although we are unable to corroborate the exact release date. Sources have also revealed that Need for Speed Unbound will have a release date of December 2nd, 2022. It is understood that the trailer will be around 1 minute 30 seconds in length, and its soundtrack features American rapper A$AP Rocky. I have to say, I'm more of a Ferg man. However, interesting. What are we going Fortnite? Oh my god, maybe we're going Fortnite. No. We already know Need for Speed tends to use kind of a rappy kind of bass. Throwback to the Need for Speed Heat trailer. This, I still go back and watch this. This is one of the most exciting trailers I think I've ever seen for a game. I don't know. I don't want to get over the top of myself here, but it still hypes me up. The music, the atmosphere. If they can make something better than this, which I believe they probably could, I'm already ready. You already know I'm already damn ready. I'm excited. Can you tell? So he does go on to mention a few things about what we've spoken about before on how the anime elements, the fire, smoke, flames, etc. will appear from your car as you jump, drift, and crash and whatnot. Apparently, it's going to be very multiplayer focused, with the feature having meetups, and meetups will allow people to race against each other in different locations around the map. We've not really heard anything about it being multiplayer focused. That kind of terrifies me in that, what does that mean? But again, it's something we're just gonna have to wait and see. We don't have to wait long, supposedly, which would be freaking awesome. In addition, it said that Need for Speed will feature a unique map that is completely unique to the Need for Speed franchise. Quite honestly, don't know what that means. Need for Speed always has a different map that kind of, what do you mean unique? That could either be quite scary or quite exciting. We'll have to wait and see. We've already had the mentions in the past that it's supposed to be set in Chicago, so I don't understand quite how it's meant to be a unique map. Maybe they've just not ever touched it. I don't know. Apparently it's going to be a bit different. Other than the fact that we know a train goes around the map, I don't particularly know how that's supposed to be majorly different. Underground 2 did it first, baby. Train across the drag race, do you remember? That was super sick. And I'm showing my knowledge here. It's actually Underground 1. Yeah. Originally, it was understood the title was supposed to be revealed in July, then August, and September. No official reason has been given as to why it was set back, but the reveal date is now on the horizon. That is an interesting one. For a delay of only a month, it's a bit weird for them to supposedly have delayed from July to August to September to October. Doesn't really make sense if the release date is really a month out. Normally, Need for Speed gets announced at E3 or Gamescom, but EA wasn't at either of those shows. So maybe I just think that they're being allowed to decide when they want to reveal, which is really good for the game. It's a good sign. Maybe Battlefield really had a knock-on effect as to how games are revealed. We also did mention in the previous video about how EA is kind of changing. They're allowing developers more time, and they're allowing developers to really make their own decisions on how games are kind of monetized and such. So that definitely may be part of marketing as well. They have a bit more control, which would be really cool. Wrapping up on this article is that it's supposedly going to be launching on next gen only. We did again mention this previously. It's just, you gotta remember, Need for Speed 2015 was pretty damn quick to get rid of the previous consoles, and so once again, that seems to be the case. Another Jeff, which is actually the community manager for Skate and Need for Speed, essentially replied to everyone going crazy in the Need for Speed Discord, by the way, link to our Discord is down below, and said, we'll just have to wait for official info, which would make total sense considering that, well, he's a community manager, he can't really comment on the speculation rumors. So the fact that we got this alone, well, yeah, it doesn't really say anything. It just says we'll have to wait for official info. So he's saying that's not official info, which would kind of make sense. Also, Daniel, the lead mod for EA, said, let's not get ahead of ourselves. As I've said before, good things come to those who wait. I mean, that's just the most generic term ever. I'm sorry, Daniel, mate, but like, it's not even Daniel, it's Daniel. For God's sake. Next up, this just came out today. This article's Need for Speed Unbound playtest starts October 13th. They would surely not just announce playtests. I don't know. I always thought playtests happened throughout the development cycle. This is new information to me this last year, that playtests happen right at the very end. That seems like such a short window to fix any major problems. But either way, he goes on to mention that there are some tests that are happening. He predicts based on the questionnaires that have gone out, they all hint towards a Need for Speed. So this is pretty damn public information. I'm surprised they jumped the gun on this, maybe because they saw that it had now been leaked, and so it doesn't really matter that much. But the playtest happens between October 13th and 18th, and if you partake in it, you can get access to some EA games. The whole playtest is just a bit weird. I guess this is for students and stuff particularly, but the fact that this is public information that playtests are happening on October, I mean, we know the game's coming out this year. It doesn't really tell us anything. But let's just take a step back and discuss everything here. This is not even all of it. I've got more info to talk to you guys about. This is bonkers. There's so much stuff. We've never had this much interest from the big leaker people on Need for Speed, and I think that shows that the game is definitely growing in its community and is growing. It's the racing game. Everyone plays Need for Speed, whether that be a little bit or a lot. Nonetheless, it's always been such a huge franchise. Maybe racing is on the up. I don't know. It's just an observation of mine. I could just be talking utter waffle. However, it is pretty damn cool to see. But at the same time, it's not. I'm on this weird fence that it's really kind of annoying that this information comes out super early and super vague, and it doesn't really tell us anything particularly new over the previous stuff we've already figured out. We saw again with the Rockstar leak that is huge shame, insane shame, that people have genuinely judged the game based on how those leaks look, which I have to say is absolute nonsense. If you genuinely think the game's gonna look like that at launch, you are balmy. It's the same with the Heat leaks. If you actually think from the leaks that we've seen thus far, that's how the game's gonna look, you have lost it, my friend. So apparently we'll see very soon what the game will actually look like, and I can't believe we're only 2 weeks supposedly away from that. That is big news. This is going to be a interesting one, a funny one. If you've never played Heat, which I don't understand why you wouldn't, you can play for free on Steam for 3 days, and it is actually on sale for £3, which in this economy right now is literally probably $3. it's help, guys. Now, it being on sale doesn't really tell us anything, but it does end October 11th, which again kind of lines up with the 2-week thing that we've been told, which is pretty interesting. But I did find it pretty damn cool that Need for Speed Heat on Steam, bearing in mind it launched 6 to 7 months after it did on Origin, so that's where it's biggest, or actually technically PlayStation would be biggest. But if you go to all time, we actually broke the all-time peak up here of 36,000, and that's still going up because of the sale. So if you want to join that, do it. It's interesting that when it came out, it was 6,000 concurrent, and it peaked in September 2020. It shows you how Need for Speed really just kind of peaks and peaks and peaks and just keeps getting these extra things, especially when it comes to sales. And it being £3 is pretty mental and definitely gets the buzz going. It builds the excitement. And again, it clearly tells us that something's happening. Also, I find it pretty hilarious that the current 24-hour peak for Battlefield 2042 is 10,000, which that game came out at launch on Steam, and Need for Speed is at 36,000, which again, the game is £3 compared to probably, what, 60? But Battlefield, you would think, would be it's an insanely big franchise. It is massive. But mate, wiping the floor a little bit with the old game that's been out for 3 years. Moving on to Twitch, our boy Jeff Grubb, who is not Tom Henderson. I know, it's too many of them. too many. He had this to say about Need for Speed Unbound on his current Game Mess Mornings podcast. So this was what I was mentioning earlier. There was kind of just a cryptic message and they were trying to figure it out. He also then dropped this little thing.
The next Need for Speed getting announced next week.
Next week. Apparently, it's actually next week. Now, something that always interests me is the public opinion about Forza and Need for Speed and how they picture these games. Forza always gets insanely popular reception from the masses because we know, as people that play a lot of these racing games, it's a game that kind of opens itself up to a majority and dies down extremely quickly, and that's going to continue to happen over time. Need for Speed tends to take a bit of a fresh approach, hence all the anime stuff that we've been hearing about. But I'm always interested about public opinion on Need for Speed, so we're going to watch this together.
So I kind of wonder, what's the state of this game going to be when we actually finally see it? I'm still expecting it to be a pretty interesting, maybe not departure, but a sideways move from Need for Speed. They're going to go with a more animated
drifting
style on top of the realistic looking cars. So when you run into a wall or something, a bunch of squiggly lines bounce off the car.
That does sound a little bit odd.
Like that. Do you think Need for Speed can stand out in a world where Forza Horizon's been so well received and we have stuff like Gran Turismo for the sim side of things, and arcade racers seem to be on the the rebound with that Hot Wheels game that people were really into? Can Need for Speed still stand out?
So I just think it needs to figure out how. I'm not sure if making it more animated is going to do that, but I don't know. It worked for Battlefield where they made it a bit sillier, and that was successful for them. Obviously not for 2042, but for other options.
Yes,
so I don't know, maybe that's what's gonna do it. But I just think that there's a fan base for Need for Speed, so it's probably gonna be fine regardless. It's just a matter of if it's gonna sell enough to make the studios happy.
I think something that the masses need to understand about Need for Speed is that it's such a long-running series that's picked up so many fans, and it's a very complicated topic in terms of which one's the best. No one agrees. But to big publications and stuff, when you actually play the next Need for Speed, consider that most people tend to play these games for longer, not because they're forced to by things like the festival playlist and such. Need for Speed just tends to have the progression there for you to actually keep unlocking stuff quite far down the line. It keeps it interesting by mixing it up, and that's ultimately what keeps people involved. Even if you don't like how some of them go, there are elements that you still enjoy, and purely it is still a Need for Speed game. Like most one in 2012 I've been playing recently, I don't really love the game that much, but at the same time, there's elements that I do kind of like and want them to cross in. And considering Criterion did want to add a story to Most Wanted and stuff in the past, again, this is a new-gen Criterion. There's some Ghost, there's some Ghost UK, there's new staff completely. I'll be interested to see where they go with it, but of course, I'm very excited you're in the right place, and Need for Speed Unbound, or Need for Speed 2022, well, it's coming pretty damn fast. Smash like, subscribe, and peace.